I'm proud of you, son.
I'm proud of you.
You proud of me too?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I do my very best. Guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel. We are live with another bit of some educational artifacts. Keep in mind, take what resonates, leave what does not. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. These readings moving forward are a lot more educational based, not just sincere advice from like personal life experiences and or case studies. Today, in today's news, this case study is about Black matriarchy, which is a term for the Black American families mostly led by women. I saw a clipping of Senator Kennedy speaking at a Trump rally. I can't pinpoint for sure if it was this one or the one a few years back when he was the president before. Okay, but something about handling a budget. Something that, like, key points are handling a budget and embarrassment, public humiliation. If you notice, the losing party didn't come out and honor or respect anybody who's came to support her, so to speak. And this reading isn't directly about her, but it's history. A lot of these readings moving forward talks about. These are reminders who benefit believers. I'll say it like that. Now, matriarchy versus patriarchy. Okay. What was I going to say about Senator Kennedy? Oh, he was cussing out Nancy Pelosi. And he was saying she was a moron for trying to impeach President Trump after all that he's done for the country to turn everything around globally. That was the point of bringing that up. And then I moved over, I started doing my own research, just matriarchy versus patriarchy, which, simply put, patriarchy is societal norm where men hold control and makes the rules, where the women stay home and take care of the children. They manage the home while the man is out and about. Matriarchy has been a wide thing, but I feel like it's become a distorted feminine, and that's a system of society or government ruled by women, or woman and or women. So there was a study done back in 1965 called the Negro Family: The Case for National Action, 1965 report on Black poverty in United States. The Moynihan Report, written by Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Okay, and it's going to be something else I was going to touch on about Jim Crow. Okay, the Jim Crow laws in the southern states. But matriarchy. Primary powerful positions in roles of political and leadership, moral authority, social privilege, control of the property. Feminine-based countries would be like your Sweden, your Norway, the Netherlands, Costa Rica, but the most successful ones are like the people of the West Sumatra. Now, before I go into the Moynihan reports, Jim Crow laws, state and local laws, introduced in the southern states of the United States in the late 19th and early 20th century, that enforced racial segregation. Jim Crow being a pejorative term for African American. The last of Jim Crow laws were overturned in 1965. So that's that. The Negro Family, the case of national action, commonly known as Moynihan Report, was a 1965 report on Black poverty in the United States, and it was written by Daniel Patrick Moynihan, an American scholar serving as Assistant Secretary of Labor under President Lyndon B. Johnson, and later to become a U.S. Senator. Moynihan argued that the rise of Black single-mother families was caused not by a lack of jobs, but by a destructive vein of ghetto culture, which could be traced to slavery times and continued discrimination in the American South under Jim Crow. Let's keep going. Black sociologist E. Franklin Frazier had introduced that idea in the 1930s, but Moynihan was considered one of the first academians to defy conventional social science wisdom about the structure of poverty. As he wrote later, the work began in a most orthodox settling, the U.S. Department of Labor, to establish at some level of statistical consciousness what everyone knew, that economic conditions determined social conditions, whereupon it turned out that what everyone knew was evidently not so. The report concluded that the high rate of families headed by single mothers would greatly hinder progress of blacks towards economic and political equality. The Moynihan Report was criticized by liberals at the time of publication, and its conclusions remain controversial. Okay. When Moynihan published his report in 1965, the out-of-wedlock birth rate among blacks was 25%, much higher than the whites. In the introduction to his report, Moynihan said that the gap between the Negro and most other groups in American society is widening. He said,
Can I have the computer back?
in a second.
In a second.
In a second.
In a second.
Yeah. You alright, son?
Yeah.
You sure?
I can use the computer.
Okay. You can use the computer. Just hold on.
No, I can use the phone. You can use the computer.
Okay. Alright. He also said that the collapse of the nuclear family in the black lower class would preserve the gap between possibilities for Negroes and other groups in favor of other ethnic groups. He acknowledged the continued existence of racism and discrimination within society, despite the victories that blacks have won by civil rights legislation. Moynihan concluded the steady expansion of welfare programs can be taken as a measure of a steady disintegration of the Negro family structure over the past generations in the United States. What that is saying is those welfare programs are meant to keep this unique group of people enslaved and dismissing the man and dismissing the balance in the home. Meaning they take the men out of the home to give the woman the welfare benefits. But you're giving the benefits at the expense where you're shooting down the father. More than 30 years later, S. Craig Watkins described Moynihan's conclusion representing hip-hop culture and production of black cinema, circa 1998. But the report concluded that the structure of family life in the black community constituted a tangle of pathology, capable of perpetuating itself without assistance from the white world, and that at the heart of the deterioration of the fabric of Negro society is a deterioration of the Negro family. It is the fundamental source of the weakness of the Negro community at the present time. Also, the report argued that the matriarchal structure of black culture weakened the ability of black men to function as authority figures. And you clearly see why. It weakens the ability for the father figure to function as an authoritative figure because the women are controlling the narrative or have been controlling the narrative. The particular notion of black familial life has become a widespread, if not dominant, paradigm for comprehending the social and economical disintegration of the late 20th century black urban life. The influence of this report generated considerable controversy and has had long-lasting and important influence. Writing to Lyndon Johnson, Moynihan argued that without access to jobs and the means to contribute meaningful support to a family, black men would become systematically alienated from their roles as husbands and fathers, which would cause rates for divorce, child abandonment, and out-of-wedlock births to skyrocket in the black community, a trend that already begun in the mid-1960s, leading to vast increases in the numbers of households headed by females. Moynihan had a contemporaneous argument for programs for jobs, vocational training, and educational programs for the black community. Modern scholars of the 21st century includes Douglas Macy, believing that the report was one of the more influential in the construction of the war on poverty. In 2009, historian Sam Tannenhouse wrote the Moynihan's fight with the New Left over the report where a signal that Great Society liberalism had political challengers both from the right and the left. So, from the time of its publication, the report has been sharply attacked by blacks and civil rights leaders as an example of white patronizing cultural bias or racism. At various times, the report has been condemned or dismissed by the NAACP and other civil rights groups and leaders such as Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. Critics accuse Moynihan of relying on stereotypes of the black family and black men, implying that blacks had inferior academic performance, portrayed crime and pathology as endemic to the black community, and failing to recognize that cultural bias and racism and standardized tests had contributed to apparent lower achievement by blacks in the school. It's just a lot of projection of that Great Depression that this unique cultural group ended up paying for. The report was criticized for threatening to undermine the place of civil rights on the national agenda, leaving a vacuum that could be filled with a politics that blame blacks for their own troubles. In 1987, Hortense Spillers, a black woman academic, criticized the Moynihan report on semantic grounds for its use of matriarchy and patriarchy. When he described the African American family, she argues that the terminology used to define white families cannot be used to define African American families because of the way slavery has affected the African American family. Scholar Roderick Ferguson traced the effects of the Moynihan report in his book Aberrations in Black, noting that black nationalists disagree with the report's suggestion that the state provide black men with masculinity, but agreed that men needed to take back the role of the patriarch. So why aren't more Afro-American men stepping up to the plate? That's a big question. Ferguson argued that the Moynihan report generated hegemonic discourses about minority communities and nationalist sentiments in the black community. Ferguson used the discourse of the Moynihan report to inform his queer of color critique, which attempts to resist national discourse while acknowledging a simultaneity of oppression through coalition building. Okay. African American libertarian economist and writer Walter E. Williams has praised the report for its findings. He has also said the solutions to the major problems that confront many black people won't be found in a political arena, especially not in Washington or state capitals. Thomas Sowell, an African American libertarian, from Belgium, economist he also praised the Moynihan report on several occasions. His 1982 book, Race and Economics, mentions Moynihan report, and in 1998 he asserted that the report may have been the last honest government report on race. In 2015, Sowell argued that the time had proved correct Moynihan's core idea that African American poverty was less a result of racism and more of a result of single-parent families. One fact that keeps getting ignored is that the poverty rate among black married couples has been in single digits ever since the year 1994. What do you guys think? Wholeheartedly. Most of us derive from matriarchal family households. So you come from a long lineage of women who are predominant and make all the executive decisions over the family. Whether the husband died or just divorced and left and abandoned the kids. Why is it though? Once the man leaves the home, he doesn't come back for the kids. In most cases, he doesn't. You feel like the mother should be the one taking care of it. So there's a Great Depression there. My power lies in a peaceful present. I am in sync with the flow of life, flow of power. This card always gives me sacral chakra energy. Because of what it looks like. And don't flag my video, YouTube. That's just what it looks like. So being creative, like it's cool when you're making the babies and then the mother ends up raising the babies by herself. It does stop the woman from assuming as effective as of a motherly position when she's playing both roles. It's not a job, but it takes a lot of work. Knight of Pentacles. I just feel like this is a very slow, long journey. Ace of Pentacles. But a lot has been done. When you think about it, the Ace of Pentacles, and then you go through all the numbers, go from 2 to 10. And then you got the Page, then a Knight. So that's progress being made, but it's a gradual, slow and steady, wins the race type of progress. That this type of healing needs to be done to stop perpetuating the same cycle. I feel like it's a massive generational curse. And I do feel like it stems back to slavery. The mindset hasn't changed. Even if the circumstances changed, the mindset has not. That's what you see in a lot of people. I feel like for those of you who voted for the losing party, dodged a bullet. Two of Swords is in reverse. Nine of Swords. Five of Pentacles in reverse. This tells me that you dodged a bullet. That you were about to have a reenact of what history has been proven. That this unique cultural group has been struggling through or been suffering through the oppression. And she didn't give you the courtesy of telling you, I think I saw her briefly. She said thank you, but she sent someone out on her behalf to speak to the people. That, I guess you can pay for education, but you can't buy class, so to speak. Because now everybody's sitting there with, a lot of people were sitting there with egg on their face when they saw the results. The Two of Swords in reverse talks about what? Ten of Swords. There's no more confusion. It's better to just rip the Band-Aid off. It's better to accept the fact that you dodged a bullet, that is over. It's been a long time coming, but I feel like a lot of those Jim Crow laws were underhandedly still remain practiced in subtle ways or loophole type of ways. But I feel like a lot of that is coming to pass because I feel like the people are waking up. And your Nine of Swords, it's been a long time, but you do have progress. Two of Swords in reverse, the 9 and the 10. Okay, it's been a lot of worry and mental anguish. But having the spiritual backing and knowing that, okay, with every difficulty comes two eases. That's Surah number 65, Ayah 2 and 3. So these last 5 years, going back 5 decades have been, or more, 5 or 6 decades. Probably, it's been hell. I hear it. It's been hell. With the Nine of Swords being here, and the Seven of Pentacles is planting seeds. It's a seed of fertility. So people are starting to realize the errors of their judgment. And they're realizing they were bringing a lot of the stuff they didn't want into fruition due to an outdated mindset. Or a mindset that should have overcame it. Or did a better job in overcoming it. This is what stagnancy looks like. When a person just doesn't challenge authoritative figures or challenge people who are trying to be an authoritative figure over you. It's like, well, to prove that you should be anything, any type of ruler or leader over me and my family, you got to show me where I'm messing up at. And even in this toxic, distorted way that you saw the things unfold before your very eyes these past few years, these past 3 or 4 months, okay? Even as you saw all of that unfold, that's still a lesson within itself. It's teaching you where you still need to grow. And the Five of Pentacles in reverse is coming out of power. It is abandonment, poverty, just getting out of that mindset. So that's actually cool, because the Two of Swords in reverse in the upright could be indecisive. I just don't know. I'm on the fence, being confused, or more confused than necessary, or acting more confused than necessary. When I just feel like a lot of people didn't want to admit they were wrong, or they were making a mistake the whole time. And then you got this King of Wands is taking accountability on that Five of Pentacles. Is awesome. It doesn't have to be a man because it's a King of Wands. You could be assuming a masculine role. This whole reading gives me Sagittarius energy because it talks about a spiritual journey. Going within. Talking about oneself. But, you know, I feel like with the Knight of Pentacles is very stubborn energy to move forward. So you could have still been reluctant to admit that you've been thinking you had this wrong, or just was thinking your enemy is your friend and your friend is your enemy, as they say. Look how much money was lost, and now it's a debt. I would love to see the Democratic Party get annihilated because of their views, because of their political views, and how they disgrace people and play in people's face and abuse people who support them and continuously show up and vote for them. But realizing a lot of people were doing it out of fear. It's some far sense of loyalty, because way back, what was it, the 60s, they allowed this, you know, the Afro-American people, the black people, to vote, because initially they didn't have that right to vote. So they feel like it's like they're making you think like I'm giving you freedom and more rights, and humane rights, more importantly. But it came with strings attached. It still kept people enslaved. It was hard to get out of that mindset or get that off your spirit. It's hard to heal when you're regurgitating the same problem, or you're being manipulated or bullied and into fear of making a better choice for you and your family. And this is the High Priestess. Even though the High Priestess talks about knowing a lot, but not speaking on it. It could be even moving in silence with this new opportunity. And that's what I feel like a lot of people did. They quietly, but loudly, like their silence was loud with a decision everybody ended up making. So, did I say something about the Jim Crow law? The Jim Crow laws, they were state and local laws introduced in the southern United States. The last of it were overturned by 1965. What's the Knight of Pentacles? Three of Swords. So many challenges. Fear of rejection. I keep hearing the word fear. I heard just ended already. Yeah, to be respectful, guys, I'm not here to call you stupid. I'm just saying you dodged a bullet. It's a mercy that you dodged a bullet. Now, to talk about feminines, to be a feminist or to be a matriarch over your own family, needing to heal issues. Hold on. All these issues and attempts. I feel like it was an attempt and a harsh reality, you know, to divert responsibility. You know, as far as some scholars argue, the Moynihan report presents a male-centric view of social problems, arguing that Moynihan and similar scholarships fail to take into account basic rational incentives for marriage, and that he did not acknowledge that women had historically engaged in marriage in part out of a need for material resources. So they're just marrying for security, as adequate wages were otherwise denied by cultural traditions, including women from most jobs outside of the home. With the expansion of welfare in the U.S. in the mid to late 20th century, women gained better access to government resources intending to reduce family and child poverty. Women also increasingly gained access to the workplace as a result for women who were able to subsist independently when men had difficulty finding work. So do you realize they're making it difficult for your men to find work as an agenda to push the woman into a vulnerable space to ask for those welfare benefits? People, listen to me. You may think it's a come up to have welfare benefits, but even speaking to people who have experienced having like food stamps, cash assistance, even medical insurance, they can say out of their face on one hand, it's a cap off. You can't make a certain amount of money, or you barely have to have a job for them to give you the full maximum benefits, or they'll take the benefits back. So they will you in feeling like it's easier to just sit on welfare than it is to go out and work. All the while, statistically saying they're trying to force men into giving up because they can't find work, or making them look inadequate or incompetent in the face of their family, their wife and their children. You know, the counter response, though, declaring Moynihan prophetic Ken Auletta. In his 1982, the underclass proclaimed that one cannot talk about the poverty in America or about the underclass without talking about the weakening family structure of the poor. Both the Baltimore Sun and the New York Times ran a series on black families in 1983, followed by a 1985 Newsweek article called Moynihan, I Told You So. In 1986, CBS aired the documentary The Vanishing Family, hosted by Bill Moyers, a one-time aide to President Johnson, which affirmed Moynihan's findings. So in a 2001 interview with PBS, Moynihan said, "My view is we had stumbled into a major social change in the circumstances of postmodern society. It was not long ago in the past century that anthropologists working in London, a very famous man at the time, Malinowski, I hope I said your name right, postulated what he called the first rule of anthropology, that in all known societies, all male children have an acknowledged male parent. That's what we found out everywhere. And well, maybe it's not true anymore. Human society's changed. So it's become more of a culture to have the mother take care of the load with the fathers being absent or conveniently absent. It's starting to become normalized. Okay. So when I see this high priestess and over the Ace of Pentacles, even the opposing party, the Democratic Party, didn't see this coming. People sat on this piece of information. They sat on a lot of information. They sat back. They quietly observed. They didn't say anything. And they made their move. And I also see with the Three of Swords and the Knight of Pentacles, it was slow to build up. So it's more than enough tangible evidence. Like an FBI agent can have a piece of evidence to incriminate someone, but they wait 2 or 3 years to build up substantial resources. So it's an arrest that couldn't be refused because it's way too much evidence against the person in some cases. Where is our strength? Let's find our strength, okay? I hope this is making sense. I say all this to say we as a collective, especially this unique group of people I'm speaking about, can do better. We deserve better. You definitely deserve better. Okay? You're not someone's little boy. You're not to be little boy. And these are our husbands and fathers of our children that are being tossed aside. Not the ignoramuses that doesn't know any different or don't care about history or care about the real agenda as to why they're shoving these benefits down women and children's throat to disrespect the father. We as women, as the mothers, because you're like a mother to your spouse too, because you have to nurture and care for them too, deserve better. I'm not saying you have to stay in your cultural group to marry. I'm just saying this cultural group was who was targeted through all of this. This very nasty agenda. Okay? They did it on purpose, you guys, whether you want to believe that or not. But a lot of people, surprisingly, don't see it that way. They're on a surface level. All they see is benefits, free benefits, free food, food I didn't have to pay for, cash I didn't have to go to work for. At the expense of what, though? You shot the father down to get it. You have to shoot him down fundamentally to get it. You have to sell him out. Now he doesn't have a place in society or in his own home, in his own family dynamic. That is crazy. We can do better. The golden children, inner child, tenderness, innocence, rare gifts. This is someone's calling to be on a platform, to speak. Breathe of the breath of the cosmos. My will to thy will. Micromanaging the universe. Okay, this could be the government trying to control people or trying to rule themselves a demigod over people, but then people do that to other people too. But that's why I like this King of Wands over this Five of Pentacles in reverse, because it's like, it's time to, this is a fighter, obviously, because it's a king. It's somebody who's taking action. It's somebody who's well aware of what reality is, and they understand the assignment. I still have to feed these kids no matter what happens. So you spend all this time distracted, thinking you have to work your ass off to fulfill both roles, when in actuality, your family's being segregated through loopholes. The loopholes of the government. Like, that's still racism at the end of the day, to keep you separated, to weaken your family dynamic, to weaken your strength, to weaken your backbone. You don't even get a chance to, it's like dealing with the personality of an oppressive boss before you get to get the actual assignment done. So you spend your whole life distracted, thinking you have to do all this stuff to keep your family stabilized, and the real trick is going on somewhere else. They meant to beat your family dynamic down. We're a lot stronger than we remember ourselves to be. That's why we should do better. We can do better. That's why it pays for me to say this. I feel like I should be saying it. Activated Earth, power plays, key lines, trust where you're led. Traveling is a thing. You need resources to travel, but if you're being spiritually led to travel to a different space, you could be moving out of state, out the country, wherever you are. It pays. Okay, because it reconnects you with history, or what history entails, what true history should entail. And the grandmother, see the card on the bottom. I like this card, it's very deep. Remember your roots, perspective, trust the weavings. Trust that you're going through this for a reason. Remember what you're supposed to be doing. Remember who you are, Simba, even if you're a woman, okay? You may have the ability to do it on your own, but you're conditioned by environmental attitude or societal norms to do that on your own. That didn't have to be made a norm. You gotta realize, these politicians, like, they're not shit without your vote. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you have more control over the narrative than you realize. That's why they spend a lot of time instilling fear in people, so they can keep that narrative going. And people are waking up to that. I appreciate that. Who is yelling like that?
The game.
That's what the game is? The game is like that?
Yeah. It's like a dinosaur game.
It's a dinosaur game. It sounds crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope this made sense. Don't let them take anything from you. Don't let them take any more from you. It's time to be responsible for the choices that we didn't make.
You read it?
Okay, psychologist William Ryan coined the phrase "blame the victim" in his 1971 book called Blaming the Victim, specifically as a critique of the Moynihan Report. He said it was an attempt to divert responsibility for poverty from social structural factors to the behaviors and cultural patterns of the poor. I feel like people are keeping themselves poor more than anybody else can, because you're the one that's voting. You still have free will, but it amused a specific group of people, like communists or descendants of slave owners, to make you feel embarrassed for standing up for what's right for you. Can't nobody tell you what's right for your family. Okay, it's your family. And this matriarchal based family dynamics that's been going on is farce, because most women don't even want to be single mothers. They rather be married, or at least have the father play a more viable role in raising the children, so their children have a chance to have the right balance in their life. It's just a lot of imbalances. A huge slap in the face. So bring this full circle. Okay? Don't let it. Gone are the days where anyone could just slap you in the face about what they want from you and play in your face, and you have that fear-based mentality, or that unhealed wound, which I think is over at this point, more than it's continuing, with this Two of Swords in reverse and this Ten of Swords. Like, gone are the days you're going to betray yourself, your ancestors, and your family. Okay? And start making basic self-respectful decisions over yourself and your family. Okay, that's all I feel like talking about right now. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Until next time.